what all the other guys said this morning. It is probably totally easy. We will see it in the movie. So after that movie, which you have not seen now, but which you may see afterwards, you will have the idea that actually now you're successful and probably you're a millionaire. Because it's so easy and everything goes straight ahead. But to be very honest, probably you're not yet there. Because you might need to deal actually with big guys. Big guys like us. I'm representing Telekom Romania, or if you want the Deutsche Telekom Group. And we are of course working with many startups or let's say young companies as well as partners. And it's for those somehow a good idea because they would like to grow and therefore we are there. But what most of the startups are actually not really familiar with is how a corporation works. So let's try to give you some insight on that. How to deal with the big guys. So the first most important thing, don't feel bad when seeing that little startup guy. I feel a bit like this guy today here. But somehow it is like this. Two different guys, somehow they are the same, somehow they are not. And they try to come together. Now, in principle, they try to do the same. They try to rock the sky. One do it like this, others like that. You see, with a lot of material behind. Some are trying with a bit less material. Some look a bit crazy. And some are just ambitious. But to be honest, I probably doubt that it will fly. So, again, what's the difference? The difference in between the little one, which we, no offense, consider the startup. There are some haves and there are some needs. I flip a bit through because it's much easier for me actually to do it like that. So, a startup usually has, probably you have all the same opinion, it's quite a common sense, it's innovative, it has smart, young, fresh people, it's of course speedy, it's all about speed, it's getting about big, it's probably also about vision and ambition, and probably everybody thinks, wow, we have the next big thing. Cool. Problem, there are some needs as well, which are not so easy if you just start from scratch. You need customers, you need scale. Scale is actually for most of the business models, I would say, the crucial thing, and it is very tough to generate scale. You need maybe even more money than you might have already as a startup. And don't underestimate connections. I heard before the Vector Watch with a lot of known people who bring probably the connections. That sounds a very good model. Anyhow, it could be as well that somebody else provides you with what you need as a startup. Because if we see it the other way around, what the big guys have, actually, de facto, they have the same, but, oops, too fast, but just in an opposite way. So meaning, it seems like a perfect fit. It seems like we have here the perfect relation. Or not. Maybe not. Maybe it's rather like this. So, why is like this? It's a bit of common sense what I say now, and again, maybe not for everybody applicable, but in principle it looks a bit like this. You have those startups, again, they have small teams, usually 2-3 people. They are very fast in decision making, rather on the spot. Maybe they have to call their seed investor or something like this. Okay, but it's probably a matter of hours, maybe days, maybe it's weeks. It depends on how big the decision is. Definitely limited manpower, or women power, of course. Again, speed is essential. And for sure, there's no legal team. At least not if you found not something around legal stuff, I don't know, a website for advices. And usually there's also not enough money. Good. So all this doesn't really fit to the money maker story on the right side yet. And on the other hand, the big guys, again, very opposite, so, but not really, how to say, fitting together. Many people to discuss with. I mean, imagine you're a small startup and you're just having 2-3 people as a founder's team, and then you go to a company like ours with roughly 7,500 people in Romania. You will easily talk to 10 people just for saying hi. Yeah? I mean, the meeting room will be probably full. You rarely meet just one. And then you have to deal with all of them. They might be experts in their area, and then you come, so you have to be an expert in everything. Quite tough, quite tough. Then, unlike in the startups, in the corporations, usually you have several stages of approval. So there is, most times, not even the CEO and able to do a decision just like this on the spot. Because it's money from the shareholders, which the guys are actually administrating. So there must be processes, secure processes in order not to waste money and to make everything compliant and so on and so on. Again, totally not what you need as a startup. On top comes very complex processes, a lot of administration, so it's not just about convincing people, maybe going through some predefined approval processes. There will be a lot of paperwork or maybe, hopefully, even meanwhile digital work around. It's our daily work, we are used to it, but for a startup, I would say it's probably very depressing. Then there are big contracts. So you may come with your idea, what you would like to sell, what you would like to cooperate with us. We have, first of all, a standard contract. This standard contract probably doesn't fit at all to what you do, because usually we don't deal so much with startups, we deal rather with established companies, which actually at the end means that there are hundreds of clauses which are preventing us from taking any risk, and which may leave you totally lost and actually being maybe even afraid. Then on top of this, all those 5 or 10 people in the meeting room, they have actually a lot of problems. They don't need you necessarily to come on top, yeah, as a next problem. What they need is actually solutions. So they have a challenging core business, and now you come on top. Of course you think you have the coolest thing, but they might not. And last but not least, there are huge legal teams in corporations behind. So it's very tough to deal with them and to succeed actually with your ideas. So, doesn't sound promising. However, it can work and it should work. So how to overcome those obstacles from a startup point of view? From my perspective, it's important to start with a perspective change. Somehow those startups where people are working who worked before in a corporation, they may know some of those things, so for them it might be easier. For whomever comes fresh from university or something like this, it's very important, think from the big corporation point of view, because de facto you rather need them than those guys need you. Maybe the corporation needs you, but the individual in the corporation might not need you. Again, a lot of problems, challenges, etc. So why to deal with something else? So very important, make the perspective change. Think like the stakeholders in the big corporation. Again, the target is not necessarily to make your startup big. Their target is to, I don't know, sell more to their existing customers, or make something better for their customers, or make just more money, make something more efficient. These are the things which big corporations and stakeholders in big corporations usually understand. Visions about how cool the startup is and the next big thing, tough luck. At least in big corporations which are not specialized on startups. So usually, again, big corporations are searching for startups which are solving them a problem, which are giving them an advantage against competition, which may help them to utilize existing assets. They have usually huge customer base, so you give me something which I can sell in that base easily, perfect. Then you have already a good fit. Are you fitting from the brand, from the positioning? Is it rather a conservative company and you come with something totally freaky? Probably it will not work. It's already obvious that this might not be going through, at least to the communication guys. So all these things I mean by perspective change. Of course, if it's about investment, so if you want even to get a round of investment from a big corporation, then you have, of course, to sell a kind of a vision and a story, and then there will be people who are listening to that and they understand that as well. But if you don't have specialized people in startups, they will not get the point. And last but not least, very important, stakeholders in big corporations, they need usually internally to sell their successes. So give them the ability to measure things, make realistic targets, let them look good. Give them their 5 minutes of fame in the next board meeting when they can present that they did this with you and it is totally cool and they have achieved I don't know what success, because it's very, very important. You get the people even by that emotions. Yeah? Give them their 5 minutes of fame. I mentioned that already. Offer solutions. So, what I mean by this, let me give you an example. So, if you're an IoT startup, you can come with that this is the next cool stuff. There are thousands of studies saying it will take up. There are bloomy words, nice concepts, all super. Or you come with, you know, we are doing all this, and I was thinking already what you guys might need. So we have this nice, cool sensor which can measure, I don't know, the traffic in your shop. So would you like to have this? Shall we make a pilot on this one? It may give you a solution. Of course, you speak in best case to the marketing guy who all the time thinks that the sales guys are not selling properly. So you give him the chance to measure them. He will love it. Yeah, usually they will love it. So these are the things. Start small, but think big. So you start maybe with something which you don't really want to sell. You want maybe to sell your whole IoT platform or I don't know what. But like this, you will get the entrance, and then it's rather easy to build up on that. Risk. Big corporations don't like risk. If they would like risk, they would be entrepreneurial and they would do their own business. In principle, people don't like risk. Yeah? The poor employees are actually pressed to avoid risk in order not to run into issues for the big company. So let's translate that. Again, it would be probably better to go there and tell big corporations, you know, let's do a proof of concept. I have this cool thing, I have this cool idea, I have this super startup. Let's do a limited pilot. Don't tell them that it costs them anything. You have, unfortunately, to bring it, if possible. It might not be possible in any example, but you have, in best case, to bring it into a no-barrier game. You come, you say, that's it, guys, take it, super, let's try it, and you convince them by operation, yeah? Not with only concepts. And most likely then, when they see that it's working, then you will be able to make more with them. It's also good for you, you will get some insights from real customers. Most likely it will be kind of a friendly user test, so I think that's very important as well. We had before already the decision-making process. Yeah? Again, it's probably the most complex thing for anybody outside a corporation to understand the decision-making process. Very important, rather nobody has the power to decide by himself. You have to convince many, be aware of that. And you have to think to give them the tools. So let's say you have one person there who's really interested in yours. Unfortunately, he has to convince 5 others. Give him the tools to do that. Try to make it as easy as possible for him. One example which we have in our company, usually we have very, very limited IT resources. Now comes a cool startup, but whatever we do, it will be rather small in the beginning. We fight against big new products with millions of revenue. Very unlikely that we will get it done. So the idea would be to promote something like, we can do it fully outside your IT environment. It's nevertheless secure. You will get your IT guys to make vulnerable tests and all this. It's all fine. We will do 24-hour service on that, so your IT guys are not bothered. However, we can do it together. Yeah? So this would be also somehow an advice on how to overcome the issues with big corporations. Now we talked a bit about startups, so let's see what the other side can do. We as Deutsche Telekom Group, we are actually doing quite something. But I would like to start, before going in the exact tools, with it's very important to have a change of mindset. I worked personally quite long for Deutsche Telekom, and in the beginning it was a very engineering company. So people had this not invented here syndrome. Everybody thought they can do it better than somebody from outside. Meanwhile, the process is quite open for partnering. So what actually a company should do is, first of all, to change its mindset to accept partners, then to find a way of easy partnering. In our case, for instance, we have a partnering department which is trying to bring from all our companies, from all our subsidiaries, in a standardized ways via some APIs, the customer base to potential partners. We do this, for instance, with Spotify, I think partially with WhatsApp. So this is something rather for companies which are not in an early stage, is something for big, yeah. But most likely it will soon extend also to some smaller ones. So very important to give a simple way to cooperate, to partner, not all the time to build up new IT implementations, etc. Okay, that's let's say about the partnering. On top of this, you need, of course, as a corporation, a lot of tools for investment specifically. So in our case, we have Hubraum. We have two actually. We have Hubraum Berlin and Hubraum Krakow. Krakow is rather looking after the Eastern European area. Berlin mainly Germany and partially Europe. And for us, as said here in this room, most likely rather Krakow interesting. So there we do pre-seed and seed funding. I think there are also some special sessions here where a colleague from Hubraum, Cosmin from Hubraum, is there and he can give you some specific advices. On top of this, we have T-Venture, which is already addressing a bit the bigger companies, and relatively new since, if I'm not mistaken, last year we have DT Capital, which is actually quite a big fund launched of somewhere over 500 million euros to go even not only anymore in startups and venturing, but also to really buy companies which are making sense for our business. So long story short, there are quite some tools. It doesn't make sense to go now in detail in them. If somebody is interested, we can of course facilitate contacts to the colleagues who are running that. On top of this, now coming a bit with the Romanian view, of course it is important to be present in the community. We try this with events like this, of course. We have, as you can see, quite several cooperations with co-working spaces and events. On top of that, we as a corporation have of course to work to make things simpler and to make things happen. We see this on our side like every day. As mentioned before, we have actually to simplify our procedures. This will not go overnight, this will actually be a long time. For you for startups, let's say, it might be a hard learning process. Things are not going fast. We try our best to speed up. In our specific case, we have in my team several SPOCs for several startups, so we kind of guide them in the company. We bring them to the right colleagues to talk to start making some pilot projects. And of course, again, also facilitating ways to the investment tools of Deutsche Telekom. We are, via Hubraum, even investing here. I think meanwhile we have 2 or 3 startups in Romania where Hubraum is invested. And last but not least, we do what I said before, we do pilots. So we have several pilots. We have OmniPaste, for instance, from Romania, where we are doing things on our new local hub.ro site. We have SafeDrive, which we are supporting with several voucher solutions and also with some communication. And we have SenseEye, which is something new. These are guys which are coming from Lithuania. They were also in a DT contest and they are making some big data in retail, so retail analytics. So that's actually what we can do in order to make even paper planes becoming rockets. So that's it from my side. Thanks for listening. Hopefully later on also on the page watching, because the movie is really cool. And
we will try it out once again.
We will try it now.
Because you really made us very curious.
Hello there! Building startups isn't easy. It's the opposite of easy, to be honest. The very opposite. It's about as easy as managing your business from a pickup roof. While the pickup's on the move! working hard on your MVP. It takes all your skill, strength. It's exhausting, but you think at least it's safe. It isn't.
This is your investor. You expect him to be sweet and cuddly, but sometimes he turns out to be a monster. Ah!
We must learn the best conversational skills to persuade our clients. We must be eloquent. We must make them want to invest. We must be expressive and articulate as the head of state. And have with us the ball to be the best strip teasers.